You are listening to
PackersTalk.com. This Green Bay Packers podcast is brought to you by Mayfield Sports Marketing, our official sports marketing agent for player appearances. To book a Packers player for your next event, go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances. Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Card.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.
Amanda, come in.
10-4.
Have you infiltrated the security system yet?
Locked and loaded. Ready to lower myself into the enemy war room.
I'm lowering you down now.
I have access. The Packers are in for a tough one this week. I need the password to proceed.
The password is read option.
I hate that password.
Me too. You know which wires to cut.
Always go for the green and gold. Here we go. I'm Amanda Lawson.
And I'm Chris Callaway, and you're going with us behind enemy lines. Welcome to another week of Packers football and Behind Enemy Lines, a podcast hosted through PackersTalk.com. You can find us on iTunes at PackersTalk.com, as well as on Twitter at EnemyLinesGB. I'm one of the hosts, Chris Callaway, on Twitter at CCallaway33, and I'm joined, as always, by my dear friend and fellow owner, Amanda, who you can find on Twitter at Amanda R. Geffre. The Packers, well, yeah, that happened last week in Denver, and they hope to follow it up by having a better performance against another undefeated team, the Carolina Panthers, this Sunday. I don't even know how to characterize last week's game, Amanda. I mean, what happened?
Not good football.
Nailed it. Astute analysis. It was just bad all over. I mean, I
watched it with a Broncos fan.
Oh, you're friends with Bronco fans?
Well, yeah. And he's not even like one who's like cheers like you. He's like yelling and screaming at the TV 24/7. Also, he might have been slightly intoxicated.
Well, or if he's really from Denver, he could have been smoking the marijuana
He's from Iowa.
cigarettes. So he's not even really come on.
Well, he told me I wasn't a real fan because I just decided to be a fan because, that's what my family grew up as, and so, I loved the Packers because I was surrounded by Packers fans.
Isn't that everybody's story?
I chose to be a Denver Broncos fan.
Oh, sorry. They were a Super Bowl team when you were 10 years old, and now I want to follow them.
Well, no, that would have been more like when he was 20 because he's old.
Oh, old people are the worst.
But, he was also intoxicated, so I just kind of let it go.
Anyways, back to what happened on the field.
Sure.
I'm really hoping it was just kind of a 1 week, this is their bad game. This is the one that just kind of get out of their system. I think in all honesty, the Packers aren't that bad. The Broncos aren't that good. And that's kind of what I'm banking on. Or do you see something that kind of gives you worry of, a sign of things to come?
Honestly, if they are going to lose a game, I think it's good that they lost this early on. And this isn't even that early, but they lost soon enough where they can make changes. I think on Sunday, a lot of weaknesses were revealed. What happens when the defense can get pressure on Aaron Rodgers? What happens when our receivers can't get open? What happens when the plays that we're calling aren't working? What do you do? How do you fix it? They obviously didn't fix it on Sunday, but now they can make a plan to fix that in the future. I think we've seen this before. The Packers keep going. They keep going until it doesn't work. Well, what happens if we got into week, 15, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, crap, that doesn't work. We just got beat by the Cardinals or whoever they play in week 15. Well, then you have less time to fix it before the playoffs. Now they're going to play another good team this week. I don't know. That's kind of how I decided to put this game in perspective.
Okay.
To make myself feel better.
That's fair. It's better than most Packer fans that were, ranting on Facebook. It was, I had a good time unfollowing some people from high school that, just ranting, oh, they need to fire Dom Capers, they need to do this, that, and the other thing. It's like, no, calm down. We're 6-1. That's literally the second best record you can have right now. It's not that bad. But, Aaron Rodgers had, you can call it a bad game because he only had 77 yards, but he was 14 of 22, which isn't atrocious. You certainly want him to be able to throw more than that, but he still didn't throw any interceptions. It just, the guys weren't getting open, and the stuff wasn't there. And I mean, I like to think that he did his job, but like Tom Clements and Edgar Bennett got out-schemed and out-coached last weekend.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I would never. You could say it was a bad game for Rodgers, like you said, but you can't really put that all on him. I mean, he was extending a ton of plays too. It's not like he was taking sacks left and right, and he was trying to make smart moves. There was just not smart moves to be made.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and Denver, like we talked about last week, is two of the best edge rushers in the league, and the linebackers of the Panthers are a little different. They're not blitzers as much as they are just incredible all-around linebackers. So, the challenge is still there, but I think it is a little different. But, once again, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers struggle on the road against good teams. I mean, we saw it last year in Seattle for the playoffs. We've seen it, on the road a couple other times before. But I saw Jason Wilde had on Twitter, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers have lost their last 9 road games versus teams with winning records. So, at some point, there has to be something to that. I mean, I don't know. What do you make of that stat?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, there could be something to that. It could be that they played really good teams on the road, and they're going to play better at home. We know that. Mm-hmm. And if the team has a winning record, they're probably playing really good at home too. It could just be another stat that people pull out just because it gives them something to talk about. I don't know. I feel like we love statistics in the NFL, and sometimes we love them too much where we're digging for them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they might struggle, like you said, that game against the Cardinals in late December. They could get tripped up a couple of more times. I was trying to look at the schedule and like, okay, there's 5 games in the division left. Let's say we lose one of those, and then 2 games outside of the division. If you go 4 games outside of the division, if you go 2-2 in those games, you're still got a 12-4 season. I mean,
yep.
There are teams around the league that would kill to sniff that, and we got people complaining that the Packers are now 6-1 instead of 7-0.
And 2 of those teams happen to be in our division. The Bears and the Lions.
Yeah, they
bad. Would love for a 12-4.
Yeah.
I mean, the Vikings probably would too, but I don't really know how they're going to end up.
I mean, the Vikings are 5-2 right now, and I can see the Packers splitting with the Vikings.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings are good enough. Adrian Peterson still scares me, and he has good games against the Packers traditionally, but just about halfway into the season with just 1 loss, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not overly worried, but when it comes down to it, I think this weekend is going to say so much about a lot of things. It's going to say, can the Packers adjust? Can they bounce back? Schematically, can the offensive and defensive coordinators build a game plan to go up against a good team and kind of figure out how to beat them on the road? And I think that goes a long way for the confidence of the team, to be able to put something like that together. But also, the confidence of the coaching staff as well, being like, okay, that was a bad game. We know what we're doing. We can kind of stay with it and, be good to go the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I think this weekend's gonna tell us a lot, like you said. I mean, there's a lot of adjustments that maybe need to be made, but I think they're little. I don't think they're big. And I think they're going to make a big difference. And I also think Carolina's getting run down, man. They've fought some tough games the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean we're going to blow them out of the water.
Right.
But I think that...
But then again, would it totally surprise you if the Packers came out and won 31-7 or something like that?
No, and I would really prefer that because close games make me nervous.
Right. I don't know. I'm putting a lot of stock into this weekend. I want to see them bounce back from a loss. I want to see them go on the road and win. And I think we'll know kind of what this team is made of to a certain extent, coming out of next weekend or this weekend coming up.
Anger.
Yeah, I want to see pissed off Aaron Rodgers is what I really want to see.
Just get right down to it. I want to see the Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder throws 7 touchdowns.
At least. I mean, Drew Brees threw 7 touchdowns last week, so why not?
What kind of juice was he drinking?
I don't know, but he was wearing Wrangler jeans probably.
When they get a certain age, they all start wearing the Wranglers.
They're real comfortable jeans. But, a couple of injuries last week that are, something to be concerned a little bit. Sam Shields left the game. Quentin Rollins left the game as well. And Clay Matthews later in the game as well got his ankle rolled up on a little bit. Sam Shields, Clay Matthews, kind of important guys in that defense. And certainly the Patriots. What are the team? The Broncos took advantage when they were gone, especially Matthews just running right up the gut while he was gone. But I mean, I'm just hoping they're healthy. I think it looks like Matthews is going to play, but I don't know. How important are those guys?
Yeah, I mean, anytime we can have Clay Matthews in there, we're going to play better.
That is going to be a plus.
It's not our advantage to have him out. I mean, he kind of tweaked it. He did come back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to say if he was playing at his max or if he was, I don't know. I don't really know if his injury, I'm sure it affected him somewhat, but I don't know that it was necessarily a game changer.
Sure.
But yeah, I think because I think it's going to be a close game, we need them in there. And I think, we're going to talk a little bit later about Cam Newton and kind of the impression he's been making on the NFL this year, and he's gotten better. So, we need the secondary to be 100% too.
That's right. And I mean, I certainly liked Cam Newton, and I think, he can have an impact on this game, but it always comes back to Aaron Rodgers. And the best stat that I saw this week, when Aaron throws for less than 200 yards in a game, the very next game he plays, he averages over 300 yards.
Ooh.
So there's your stats and numbers for you. That's the one I'm banking on. And, after
I like that one better than the other one.
After a 77-yard performance, why not put 4 times that, 5 times that on the board this weekend? Why not?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, I think we should talk about the team that's going to be hosting the Packers this weekend in Carolina, don't you think?
Yeah, I think let's bring in our guest. Now we'd like to welcome our guest, Bill Voth, to the show. Bill is a Carolina Panthers reporter for the Black and Blue Review and the Charlotte Magazine. You can find his work on Twitter by following him at Bill Voth. Welcome to the show, Bill. Thanks for joining us.
That's impressive, Amanda. Very rarely do people say my last name correctly. Usually it's Voth, and usually I just let it go like that. So I'm actually surprised when people say it correctly, so thanks.
We did our research.
I have a small confession. Chris found a video of you pronouncing your last name, so that way I would get it right.
Well done. Well, that's good. Good work by you guys. So you would have said Voth, but you did research, which is great.
Yeah, we try our best. All right, so the Panthers, they're what I would call a very resilient 7-0 team, and they're off to the best start in franchise history. Before we get to the on-field stuff, can you kind of sum up how the fan base is feeling right now? Do they see Carolina as a real contender, or are there things kind of too good to be true, not really sure how to feel about the whole success this season?
Sure. Well, Carolina is they're an optimistic fan base to begin with. I'm from the north, and specifically I'm from Cleveland. So when things drop on your head, you expect it to. Down here in the south, it's kind of you expect things not to fall on your head, and then when they do, you're surprised they do. And so here in Carolina, even if they were struggling, or even before the season when Kelvin Benjamin went down, there was some optimism. Now, I just don't think anyone, though, could have predicted 7-0 when Kelvin went down. It's impossible, and no one here really knows how it happened. we can break it down, sure, but when you look at it, when Kelvin went down in training camp, it was just okay that they can probably still win the division because the NFC South still isn't the strongest division in football, even though I think record-wise right now it says it is. But they weren't going to be able to beat the elites of the NFL, and they go and they beat some 4 easy teams, I guess you could say, at the beginning of the year, and then they go to Seattle, beat Seattle, and then Philly and Indianapolis, and here we are.
Well, first, thank you for beating Seattle. We want as many people to beat Seattle as possible. But, I think for me, it just keeps coming back to Cam Newton. He's been impressive this year, and, watching him, he's the most physically gifted quarterback in the league. But it looks like from a pure passing perspective, he's kind of taken his game to another level this year. In your eyes, what is the difference in the 2015 version of Cam Newton been?
Well, he's healthy, which is a lot different than he was last year. And I think so many of us who covered the team and who both locally and afar really missed that point going into the season as people are looking, what changes did the Panthers make this offseason? Well, they didn't do a whole lot. They drafted Jack Thompson and then Devin Funches, and they didn't do a lot in free agency. So where are the improvements? Well, when your quarterback is healthy when he wasn't the year before, that's a gigantic improvement, especially when you depend so much on him. And he's in his 5th year, so he's smarter. And when it comes to being smarter, the thing that he is doing better than he's ever done before is he is taking what the defense gives him. It's so cliched, but in Cam's case, it's been so important. Coaches have begged him to do it for so long. He's so used to just making plays. And he wants to always make the big play, and it's always gotten him in trouble. Not always, but often gotten him in trouble early in his career. And so this offseason, he said he was going to do this. He was going to play smarter. He was going to take what the defense gives him, which means check downs and shorter passes and all those other things, and actually running out of bounds, taking fewer hits. And he's done that, and that's what's translating into an offense that's more efficient. It's still not sexy. It's still not you're not going to consider the Panthers a powerful offense because they don't go down the field all that often, but they can go down the field. They did a couple games ago against the Eagles. I think they had 7 plays of 20 yards or more, and so it's just when Cam's playing like this, when he can go deep but he's playing smart and doesn't always go deep, it's really hard for defense to defend.
Well, let's expand on the offense a little bit. The Panthers have arguably one of the worst wide receiving core in the league, but it hasn't really held them back yet. I think Greg Olsen is really, really good, but is this team going to be able to thrive in January with Ted Ginn, Corey Brown, and Devin Funches?
I wouldn't have said they could have thrived in September or October, but here we are. So somehow Cam is really making it all happen. But with that said, the last 2 games, he hasn't played all that great. Now the run game has started to get better. So in the first few games, Cam was really, when people say, hey, MVP, and you look at with the numbers and no way can he be MVP, but he really was that important. Over the last 2 games, as I said, he hasn't played MVP-ish, but now with the run game going, that really helps. So when people look at the receivers, they have every right in the world to say, ugh, who are these guys? This is gross. It's true, but they make enough plays to go along with what Greg Olsen can do, to go along with what the run game can do, and to go along with what Cam does. So all of it together is what's making the Panthers be successful.
And you talk about the running game. I think the offensive line is starting to get a little bit banged up, but Jonathan Stewart has been really good. And him and, Cam Newton's running abilities as well gives me a little bit of cause for concern for this weekend, especially with how Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson ran all over the Packers last Sunday night. Do you think that's going to kind of be the same approach that Ron Rivera and Mike Shula take, kind of a run-first approach on Sunday?
It has to be. It has to be. You got to try and keep the Packers off the field. And the Panthers were able to beat the 4 easy opponents early in the schedule by not establishing. They weren't able to establish the run game, and teams are putting 8 or 9 in the box because they're saying, all right, if Philly Brown and Ted Ginn are going to beat us, then so be it. But we're not going to let the run game beat us. Well, now the run game is starting to open up some holes, and Jonathan is running just so ridiculously hard And so over the last 3 games, the run game has started to click. You're right about the offensive line. The Panthers should be getting Ryan Khalil back this week, but left guard Andrew Norwell, he's not going to be able to go. So he'll be replaced by Amini Silatolu, who was a former starter, but he's not as good as Norwell. So that could hurt the running game a little bit. But yeah, that's cause for concern for defense, is that if and when the Panthers establish their run game, it's just really hard to figure out what this offense is going to do.
Let's switch to the defense a little bit. I think the Panthers have 2 of the top 10 defenders in the league with Luke Kuechly and Josh Norman. And let's start first with Luke. What does having him back healthy at linebacker mean for Carolina?
And a lot of people would say, well, at least here would say, they would have expected you to say Thomas Davis before you said Josh Norman, but you're absolutely right. Josh Norman wow, has he flashed onto the scene quickly. But Luke is the captain of the defense. When the ship was going down again in 2012, Ron Rivera said the smartest thing I've heard him say since I've been covering the team. I've been here since 2005, and he said that we have our 2 quarterbacks now. We have a quarterback on offense, and we have a quarterback on defense. And to me, as people were wondering if Ron would be able to keep his job, that just made so much sense. And it was like, yeah, that they are building a foundation. And so, yeah, they've got Luke, and Luke is the foundation of that offense. So even though Thomas is really, really good, he's in his 10th year, but, I mean, Luke is the foundation of that offense. And now around him, you've got Thomas around him. You've got the 2 defensive tackles in front of him with K'Wan Short and Starlo Tulele, and you've got Josh Norman taking away a side of the field in the defensive backfield. Well, the center of it all is Luke, and when he's in there, that's why you see the Panthers have such a formidable defense.
So back to Thomas Davis then. I mean, his game elevated, or is he be able to do more stuff with Luke Kuechly on the field then?
He won't tell you his game is elevated. I did a story on it last week. He won't tell you that, and neither will Ron Rivera. He'll say, if you ask, is he gotten better? They say, well, they feel like he's been playing at a high level since he's come back from his 3rd knee surgery. But it seems like he has gotten better. What's funny is in the last game Monday night, he only had 2 tackles, and I was like, wait a second, what? And so Ron Rivera explained on Tuesday, saying that the defense was actually going away from Thomas and they were going away from K'Wan, which is why some of their stats were lower than we've seen. So Luke is going to get his wherever, because he's all over the field, but teams were trying to run away from Thomas the other day, and you haven't heard that in a very long time. So if that doesn't say how good he's playing right now, I don't know what else does.
So then what about Josh Norman? He's been a revelation this year, and you wrote about the talk that he should be paid as the best corner of the league. Champ Bailey said that Norman should be paid as one of the best corners. I mean, has his jump surprised you?
Yeah, I think just because it's only in the fact that it's happening every single week. It's just like you're waiting for him to slip up. You're waiting for something to happen. You're waiting for him to finally give up a big play. And not only is he giving up, not only is he not giving up handfuls of receptions, really something. He's not giving up anything. So Russell Wilson didn't even throw his way. Sam Bradford threw his way once, and Norman actually had a beat on that and could have actually intercepted the ball in the end zone, and instead he only knocked the ball away. And so then last week against T.Y. Hilton, coming in, T.Y. was averaging, I think it was 10.5 targets a game, so you knew that, all right, Josh is going to be on him, and it's going to be interesting to see how many receptions Hilton ends up with, and it was a season-low 1 catch for 15 yards, and it's just every single week Josh is doing something. He's doing something special, and it's not ending. Now, one little thing this week is he's got a little bit of an illness. I think he wouldn't admit today that it was strep throat, but it's something, and his voice certainly isn't there. So he's lacking some energy right now, but I don't know how much energy he'll be lacking come game time on Sunday.
So then from just kind of an overall defensive philosophy, I, as a Packer fan, kind of refuse to believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to have 2 bad games in a row. But, Sean McDermott has been doing a really good job with this defense over the past couple of years. How do they slow down Rodgers again? I mean, do they try to mimic what the Broncos did last week, or what do you think the approach is there overall in defense?
Yeah, I think that's the question where we get to where I'm finding it hard to see the Panthers keeping their win streak going, because I don't think they're going to be able to, because I think you have to be able to get a pass rush on them, and I don't think the Panthers are going to be able to right now with what they have with Charles Johnson out. Jared Allen, he's been showing some flashes, but he's really, really on the back end of his career. And Coney Ely, same thing, showing some flashes, but he's been rather inconsistent. And so can the Panthers just rush 4 and try and mimic what the Broncos did? I don't know, because the defenses are different. In the Broncos defense, that front seven, while the Panthers defense front seven is really good, the Broncos front seven it's faster. And so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to mimic it. And what I worry about for the Panthers and for Sean McDermott is how the rest of the secondary is going to be able to keep up with the Packers' weapons. And so will Charles Tillman, Roman Harper, Kurt Coleman, who aren't the fastest guys in the world, are they going to be able to keep up? And Ben Wickery at nickelback, he hasn't had the strongest season after he looked really good as a rookie last year. Are they going to be able to keep up? I'm not sure. So if the Panthers aren't getting pressure on Rodgers, this is a secondary that he could be able to slip a bunch of things past.
So then what do you think is most critical heading into Sunday's game? Is it getting that pressure on Rodgers, or is there a different element of, this matchup that you're most intrigued about this weekend?
I think it's the pressure. I think that's what it comes down to. If the Panthers can get some pressure with their front four, I don't know how much they're going to try and blitz them. I mean, I guess they're going to have to try every once in a while, but Aaron's just so smart and so good that he'll be able to figure that out quickly. So I think the Panthers' hope is to be able to get some pressure on him with that front four, and you got Starlo, Tulele, and K'Wan Short in the middle there. They're capable of doing it. It's just I'm kind of in the same school of thought as Packers fans are, where it's just you find it hard to believe that Aaron's going to have 2 bad games in a row, and it's hard to say he will until it actually happens, and it hasn't happened since 2010.
Yeah, well, that's what we're hoping for. So I guess we'll just have to find out Sunday if we can bring the Panthers down, get them their first loss this season. So let's move on over to predictions. Bill, Sunday in Carolina, Aaron Rodgers is not happy. Are the Panthers going to be able to tough this one out?
I don't think so. But I also would have said I didn't think they could win in Seattle, and they went and won in Seattle, and it was just what I said about Aaron. I couldn't say the Panthers were going to beat the Seahawks until they actually did it, and well, they did. So if they beat the Packers, will I be surprised? I think mildly, but I mean, shoot, just like I'm majorly surprised that they're 7-0 without Kelvin Benjamin. So they keep proving people wrong, people like me wrong. I thought they could be good. I thought they could compete with the Packers and the Seahawks with Kelvin Benjamin. Without him, shoot, hey, they've been able to compete so far. So the Panthers are capable of winning. I just don't think they will this Sunday. I think Aaron Rodgers is just too strong.
What kind of score? I mean, are you thinking a little bit lower scoring, or is Packers offense going to be able to get together, or what type of game do you think kind of plays out?
Let's see here. I'll give you a 28-21 Packers.
Okay. I was right in the same kind of wheelhouse with you. I think the Packers are going to be able to get a couple of touchdowns on the board. I hope they air it out a little bit, but I think this kind of is for supremacy in the NFC right now. If the Panthers win, I think they're the favorites. If the Packers win, I think they kind of are able to shake off the game against Denver last week and just kind of point to that as an anomaly in their season. But I'm kind of with you. I like the Packers somewhere like 27-19. Amanda?
All right. Well, I am not feeling as confident as you, Chris. But I don't think that the Packers are going to lose either, because I think there is something to be said about Aaron Rodgers having that chip on his shoulder. But I see it being a much closer game, somewhere in the range of 24-17, 24-21, somewhere around there. I think it's going to be a nail-biter, which I'm not sure if I like those or not. So I guess we'll see on Sunday what happens. It'll be a good game, I think that's for sure.
Are you not picking who's going to win?
Oh, Packers.
Okay. Well, is it so just an assumed thing? Okay.
Yeah. It's hard for me to pick against them. Oh, man. Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the insight you've given us and helping us talk about what to expect on Sunday.
Sure thing. Thank you guys for having me.
And maybe we'll talk again in the playoffs.
Perhaps. No, because I'm not a Panthers fan. I cover them. So, but I do hope that if it's the playoffs, we will see you guys down here and save us the trip from having to go up there.
Well, this weekend could go a long way to determining that.
Exactly.
Well, we appreciate your time, Bill, and hopefully then we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep, take it easy. We appreciate everyone for tuning in to the Week 9 edition of Behind Enemy Lines. The Packers are on the road once again as they take on the 7-0 Carolina Panthers. Once again, you can find our podcast on Twitter at EnemyLinesGB. I'm Chris Callaway, and you can find me at CCallaway33.
I'm Amanda Geffre. You can find me at Amanda R. Geffre. Thank you to our guest, Bill Voth, for joining us. You can find him on Twitter at Bill Voth. Remember, check out all of our podcasts on PackersTalk.com and follow Behind Enemy Lines on Twitter at EnemyLinesGB. Until next time, go Pack, go!
This Green Bay Packers podcast is brought to you by Mayfield Sports Marketing, our official sports marketing agent for player appearances. To book a Packers player for your next event, go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances. Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Card.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.